There's countless ways to design a logo. Do you follow the golden ratio guide? Do you sketch your ideas before designing? Or do you simply design the logo in Microsoft Paint?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Regardless of your approach, there are certain fundamentals that should be followed to ensure a professional, high quality, and distinct logo. In this video, we'll go over those 6 fundamentals to ensure you're creating the best possible logos, no matter your design process. So let's get into it. The first fundamental is something we see not only in high quality logo designs, but also Michelin star restaurants, luxury clothing brands, and some of the best interfaces in the world. I'm talking about you, Apple. See, what all of these have in common is their less is more approach when it comes to their products. This is especially noticeable when you go to a fancy restaurant and they bring out your food, only for you to finish it before the waiter has even left the table. Okay, that might just be me. Jokes aside, the reason the serving sizes tend to be smaller in Michelin star restaurants is because they prioritize quality over quantity. They want the flavor of their high quality ingredients to shine through in their dishes. In logo design, it looks something like this. So this professional logo is simple yet innovative in its design. This means that it is more likely to attract attention for the right reasons compared to this logo that feels all over the place with multiple things going on. With that said, the first fundamental principle is to make your logo simple but significant. A high quality logo should capture interest, not confuse people. But this counts for nothing if your logos don't follow the second fundamental. This is where elite designers distinguish themselves from the rest. Let's take 5-time world chess champion Magnus Carlsen as an example. While he may not be a designer, he certainly understands the importance of this next fundamental. In fact, every time he makes a move on the chessboard, he keeps it at the forefront of his mind. You see, Carlsen always thinks several moves ahead, does research on his opponents, and enters games with a plan. In other words, he's a master of strategy, which is what the second fundamental principle is all about. To create professional logos, they need to be strategic. This means designing with the brand's foundations, target audience, competitors, and industry in mind. By doing so, you will ensure that you create a strategically backed logo that aligns with the brand. While brand strategy is important for creating logos that stand out in their industry, it becomes almost meaningless if they do not adhere to this next fundamental. After all, if people cannot see the logo, then it doesn't matter how strategically it's been designed. The next fundamental is something that investors on Dragon's Den or Shark Tank for my US viewers always seek when considering investing into a business idea. Before contributing any money to support a business's growth, they need assurance that the business is capable of handling that growth. Do they have the necessary systems in place? Do they have an adequate number of employees? And so on. Now you're probably wondering how this relates to logo design, so let me show you. So when I scale this logo down, it becomes unreadable. However, with the introduction of a logo suite, it now simplifies when scaled down, ensuring it's legible at any size. Now the key here is to make your logo responsive, and this is the third fundamental of logo design. Just like how venture capitalists only invest in companies that can scale, your logo designs should be able to work in various sizes and on different mediums. To ensure this, you need to consider the primary use of the logo and adapt it for other mediums. This can be achieved by simplifying the concept or creating other logo variations. The next fundamental utilizes the strategy research conducted for the second fundamental and builds upon it to design something even more impressive. However, many designers neglect this next step because they fail to realize that their logo designs need to be similar to standout candidates during a job interview and become memorable. Just like a recruiter who meets numerous applicants during the hiring process for a big company, people are bombarded with an endless amount of content every time they open a social media app. The only way to be noticed in both situations is to become memorable, which is the fourth fundamental. When designing a logo, you need to think about what you can do to make it stand out among competitors while still being familiar enough to be remembered. If you nail this, you'll create logos that are distinct and brands are willing to pay a lot of money for that. Up until now, if you follow the fundamentals I've laid out in this video, you'll be able to create strategic, responsive, and memorable logos that adopt a less is more approach. And while that is a great starting point, there's one big addition missing that all the best logos have. Let's take Nike as an example. If you look at the history of their logo, what do you notice? If you're not sure, take a look at the history of Amazon's logo. Now let me ask you this, what difference do you notice in the evolution of these logos? Nike's logo has remained consistent throughout the brand's history. This example perfectly showcases why the next fundamental is so important. The designer who created the Nike logo obviously considered the brand's future and designed with longevity in mind, even if she only got paid $35. And as you might have guessed by now, the fifth fundamental is all about creating a timeless logo. Now, keeping that in mind, what is one thing you need to consider when designing a logo that will stand the test of time? The last fundamental, of course. When creating road signs, they always follow this design fundamental to ensure that the information on the signs are clear and easily readable for the safety of drivers and pedestrians. And in logo design, we utilize this fundamental to ensure that they are clear on first glance, and it is, of course, legibility. Here's an example of this fundamental in action. The professional logo is easily readable and instantly identifiable. In contrast, the other logo requires a few seconds of observation before understanding its message, leading to a feeling of confusion. I actually created this professional logo and followed all 6 fundamentals mentioned in this video to do so. If you want to see them in action, then watch this video here, where I design a brand for a restaurant.